Hey guys, welcome to Stephen A. On Air, the Court of No Appeals. Welcome to the channel. Let me get situated here. So today we're going to be checking out day 2 of the Meggan Sundwall trial. Utah is where this is taking place. So this is a nurse that supposedly, allegedly murdered her friend, her bestest friend in the world. She murdered her with an insulin overdose. More of a suicide assist, I think is what you'd probably label it. At least I would. So we're going to get into it. Start out day 2. There's only like 4 hours of court for day 2. So like I said, they're on day 7, I believe, live in court. So I'm going to try to catch up to them, which shouldn't be too hard because there's not a whole lot of court. It's not like full 8-hour days. So, all right, let's get into it. Without further ado, I appreciate you guys. Hit that like and subscribe button if you could. Let's get into it.
We're going to go back on the record. It is March 12th, 2026, case number 251-401-132, State of Utah versus Sundwall. Welcome back, everybody. The jury is here and ready to go. Anything we need to cover?
Yes, we just had, I guess, just one issue that we wanted to bring up and have the court to think about. I know it's not ideal. Scheduling-wise, we are behind schedule. We're doing our best to work with both counsel are doing our best to try to streamline things and work together. Notwithstanding, we think we might need another day. I don't know how possible that is. I know that you have the judicial conference.
It's not possible.
Is it impossible to take the 23rd? I know that's your law in motion day. I don't know how possible it is to get coverage for yourself on that day if we can. Otherwise, I mean, we'll obviously do our best, but it's looking like, because I believe Mr. Williams originally thought that we had that Monday available because he didn't know that your law in motion is on Monday. I obviously did know that. I think we just are behind schedule such that we think another day is maybe going to be necessary, but if it's impossible, we'll obviously do our best to.
The parties asked for 9 days, and that's what we gave you. I don't think there was any question about, and that included jury selection. I don't think there was any question about how much time the parties were going to have.
I think we simply miscalculated. So I don't know that we're gonna do our best to streamline. I think we've cut down. We've cut a witness and we've tried to cut down on timing of witnesses. But I just wanted to flag that for the court. I don't know that it's something we need to decide right now. And obviously we'll do our best to avoid it. I just wanted to see what the possibilities were.
That would be the only option, is to see if I can get coverage for law in motion on that date. I don't know if that's a possibility, but we potentially can. What we are not going to do is give this to the jury on the afternoon of the 24th.
Okay.
That's not going to happen.
Okay.
That's not fair to them.
Agreed.
They are here on the 24th, and that is their last day.
Agreed.
We are not giving it to them that afternoon. In our prior discussions, the hope was that they would have all day, the 24th, to deliberate. If they didn't start Friday, the Friday before, I'll look in to see if I can get that Monday, if I can get coverage.
We're hoping it's not necessary, and like I said, I think both sides are going to do our best to streamline and speed things along. But I just wanted to flag that we are behind schedule.
I'm glad you guys are talking about it, because we've got to work within this time frame, and if we can get an extra day, we'll try and figure that out.
Okay, thank you, Judge.
Anything else before we bring the jury in?
Not right now from the state.
All right, thank you. Let's do it.
put it on 1 point, or I did put it on 1.25. So.
All right, the jury.
Thank you. Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, welcome back. Appreciate y'all showing up again for day 2 of our trial. We have our witness available for Mr. White to continue on cross. Mr. Farnsworth, if you please come forward. You've already been sworn in. You haven't been released, so I will remind you that you are still under oath. Thank you for being here again, sir. Mr. Williams, when you're ready.
Thanks.
This dude has been on this
And you'll be happy to see, Your Honor, that we followed the court's order to all dress the same. I don't want the jury to think, however, that means we're all on the same side.
He's being
Morning.
examined like
It's okay if I call you Mark. Yep. I'm going to try to be a little more surgical here. It's morning, a little more awake. If we haven't had too much coffee. So I'm going to hit some topics. I did want to follow up because we had talked about the various things that Kacee, lied to you about and also got you to believe. You'd already talked about cancer and the various maladies, right?
Yes.
And the needs for medications and things like that, right?
Yep.
But she also led you to believe she was on hospice.
Yes.
Remember? And you did.
Yep.
I just can't believe.
I want to touch on this subject of insurance in this
proof.
life insurance stuff. Now, you talked a little bit about it yesterday. Do you remember that?
Yep.
This issue of life insurance was bantered about by Kacee for years, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And you even, as you testified yesterday, it just didn't make sense even to you for reasons that included financial, right?
Yes.
She had once told you, well, I've got some boyfriend who's paying the premiums, correct?
One time.
Oh, paying one premium?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And, I mean, again, it's Kacee telling you, but you didn't have any proof or reason to determine whether that was even correct, right?
Right.
And when Kacee used this discussion in that topic, she would often use it divisively, wouldn't she? In other words, she'd sort of say, well, I'm changing the beneficiary to this person, or people are after my life insurance policy and things like that. Do you remember that?
Yes.
I mean, one time she even was accusatory against you in relation to trying to get it when there was a discussion with whether Kyle might be a beneficiary, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think you expressed, or you can do it again, it must have been pretty frustrating to even have a discussion of this life insurance be divisive as to you and your brother.
Yeah.
But even as recently as April of 24, April before Kacee passed, do you remember her even talking about that subject divisively vis-a-vis Meggan? I need to show it to you. Yeah, go ahead and put that without. In some text messages, do you recall that?
Text messages with me?
Yeah, Kacee and you were talking about Kacee trying to tell you, hey, Meggan just wants my life insurance policy. I've taken her off of it. You shouldn't even let her come to the house. I don't like her, etc. I'm paraphrasing. I'm going to show you the actual words in a minute, okay?
Okay.
But do you recall that? You were kind of supportive of saying, okay, I'm here to help if you want me to intervene.
I don't know that I recall specifically that, but that kind of conversation, I would say, yeah, that probably happened.
And, I mean, you know now. Do you know now?
Probably.
I don't know what the government has shared with you, to be honest, Mark, but do you know now that while she's telling you she wants help getting rid of Kacee bugging her and coming over to the house, she's also simultaneously, I'm sorry, Meggan, coming over to the house, she's simultaneously texting Meggan about coming to the house, texting Meggan about the same old subjects of being sick, I'm nearly dying, I think I'll try to commit suicide with insulin, all those stuff. Do you know that while she's telling you to sort of splitting you off, asking you not to have communications with Meggan, she's inviting Meggan over?
No, I didn't know that.
Do you know it now? Or do you? I mean, have they shown you the text messages between you and Kacee?
No.
Have they shown you text messages between you, between Meggan and Kacee at the same time that Casey's texting you?
No.
Let me show you an example. You probably heard, you've been in a few hearings, and you probably know by now that there are tens of thousands of text messages over the course of the relationship, just back to five years before. I'll show you what, let's talk about it as defense one. This is a text exchange from April 24th, 2024. Looks like it's in the morning. But just looking at the top of the green bubble here, it says from Kacee girl. Is that what Kacee often had as a nickname?
Yeah.
And it's to a number that says Mark. Can you look at that number real quick and see?
Yep.
That's your number, right?
Yep.
So does this look like text messages? You can go ahead to the blue bubble and look at that blue bubble and see if it's you back to her.
Okay.
Okay, so this, you agree, accurately represents a text string between you and Kacee in April of 2024?
Okay.
All right. I'm gonna go ahead and read through it, so you don't have to, but follow along if you will. So, well, I'm sorry, I'm gonna move to publish it as exhibit number 1.
No objection.
Do we have different numbers?
Oh, do you want?
Or do we have defendants exhibit 1 and states exhibit 1? What's easier for you?
I'm happy to do letters if you'd like.
Letters might be more clear.
Sorry, Judge.
That's
Every
all
court practice is different.
Yeah, that's all right. So defendants exhibit 8,
A.
you're offering this.
Yes, and it sounds like there's no objection.
Court will receive defendants exhibit A, you can motion.
Thank you, and then we'll get these numbers correctly on the ultimate provision to the court. So I should check first. Again, I'm sorry. So we've got Kacee girl telling you about Meggan, that I think she's still hoping I'm dying. That's all she talks about because she thinks she's getting my life insurance policy. I never told her I took her off it because I didn't want to start fighting. But it's like our friendship isn't a friendship anymore. Again, this is April. All she'll ever talk about is me dying and asking about my health, and I don't want to think about my health, and I don't want her to talk about it, but I'm sure it's all money. But if I called her out on it, she would try to cry and say I was rude for even thinking that, and she just cares about me and doesn't want me to be in pain anymore. I'm just tired of having the same conversation with her. You see that?
Yep.
Now, you would be sympathetic to the supposed position of Kacee, right?
Yep.
And so you say, you need to put in writing what you want done with the life insurance, and then I'll call her and I'll put an end to this if you want me to, right?
Yep.
Scrolling down, she doesn't seek your help, right? She says everything is in writing. Now, as far as you know, that's not true, right?
Right.
But she made mad that she went through my life insurance policy when I went out of town with Keller, when I was living at her house. By the way, she wasn't living at her house. That would have been years before this was written, right?
Yeah.
And I had letters and things with friends and family for after I passed. So after me and her went and planned my funeral, I told her I wasn't telling her how much it was or anything because I had surprises for people to get after I was gone, but she went through all my stuff anyway. I didn't even put it back to make it look like she didn't go through it. I'm sorry, she even put it back. So I called my attorney. You're not aware that she ever had an attorney, right?
No.
And I changed everything and I put it in your name and Kay's. Kay's your sister, right?
Yep.
Caitlin is her name, but you guys called her Kay.
Yep.
Of course, that's not true in terms of, and put it in your name in case you never saw any proof that anything got put in your name or Kay's, right?
Right.
I don't want her to know. She can be pissed off after I'm gone. I'm just gonna block her off of my phone, so if she gets a hold of you, just don't respond to her. And hopefully she'll leave me alone. But I don't want to bring up the life insurance thing with her because that's going to give me major anxiety. So she's asking you here not to help, right?
Yes, I think she's just saying,
Well-
I'll take care of it, and you don't have to do anything.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I was just, we don't get to speculate on what people thought, so that's why I was about to interrupt you. But that's okay. Because you say, okay, you say, all right, I'll stay out of it, right?
Yep.
So she's clearly, you interpreted this as that she wanted you not to have contact with Meggan, not to get involved with Meggan, right?
Yep.
She went further. She said, thanks, hopefully she won't get you involved. I just wanted to give you a heads up because I was thinking about how her husband got in contact with you, so I can't remember if it gave her your phone number, and I first went on hospice, or if he just called your insurance phone number because he had done my taxes, and then if you can scroll up. Oh, that's the end. So you never did go back and forth with Meggan because, among other things, even though you offered, Kacee is splitting you off saying, don't communicate.
Yeah.
Do you remember she even talked to you and texted you about, hey, I don't want her at the house, so if she comes over, tell her to go away.
Yeah.
Now, what she's telling you, that's before, for instance, the events that we're talking about, where, as we now know, she is inviting Meggan over to engage in an insulin overdose. You didn't know that, of
No.
course. So she's already told you that she wants you to expel Meggan, to keep Meggan away, that she's broken it off with Meggan, that she doesn't like Meggan and she's fighting, and this is in April. Right?
Yep.
Okay. I just wanted to touch on the subject. You can take that down on publishing. Thank you very much, bro. You had talked about some blessings, and that Kacee had asked you to give her blessings periodically, right?
Yep.
Those blessings come from a pretty darn serious place in your spiritual beliefs. Agreed?
They can, yeah.
I mean, I think you explained it. It is God empowering someone who holds a position, a certain position, bishopric at some point,
they can.
to give these blessings to people for various purposes, right?
Yes.
Now, Kacee knew that that's the strength of your belief and that it was religious and where it came from, right?
Yeah.
So she asked you to do that. And you mentioned she didn't ever ask you to give her a blessing in relation to a release into a dying. She didn't, right?
Right.
Instead, she asked you to do it on some other subjects, and one was to bless her in relation to her health and getting better and beating cancer, right?
Yeah.
She asked you to give her a spiritual blessing about cancer that she didn't have, right? And you did, didn't you?
And I don't know that it was specifically about cancer, but, you know, she was sick, and so a blessing of healing,
Healing.
comfort.
Healing and comfort for reasons that after her death you learned she didn't have, right?
Specifically with the cancer, right, but she had a lot of other health issues that she would have wanted a blessing for.
All right. Let me go to this other subject. We had talked, this is part of the investigation, not as personal, sorry. I'm going to move off something not personal and just talk about the investigation and the evidence, okay? I'm not going to traipse you through all the things again about all the roles you've had here. I think that'll probably come out with investigative witnesses. But I want to talk about one feature we touched on yesterday and expand on it and clarify it and let the jury understand it. And I'm going to call it the Fanta box. Do you want them to put it up, or are you ready? Either way. You're already plugged in, so sorry. You're nagging, right? This is actually State's Exhibit 7. Could that be published?
Actually states
That from your computer? That's a clip.
Are you offering?
Can you switch?
Are you offering 7?
States the 7 is in.
Oh.
That's why I was going to use it. It's the photo of the Fanta box. So that's all right. If you can leave it up, well, you probably can't put it here and not
We
publish
can publish it.
That's my fault. We're using the two computers here on publishing. Now this Fanta box, while it's coming up to be publishing, just a little reminder, not that everyone needs it, but after the police had come on the 12th and left, this Fanta box evidence, as far as you're aware, was not known about, right?
Right.
Then the police come and do this search. I kept calling it, referring to a warrant, and you might not, that might not mean anything to you about warrant, but I'm still trying to get Exhibit 7 up. But
My computer froze, sorry.
okay, we'll get it up. I'll just lay out the history of it. Then they search in connection with their investigation with a team on the 14th of August, a couple days later, and then say you can go ahead and go about your business in the home, right?
I mean, dates I'm not going to remember, but
That's what I'm telling you.
sequence of events, yeah, a couple of days after.
Thanks. And I'll try to tell you because these things are known, and it's not fair to ask you, therefore, to have to remember them cold. Okay, this is State 7. Now, when you go out, you find this, I think, on the 18th. At any rate, a couple days after that search, right? A number of days. Correct?
Yeah.
And this I'm talking about, of course, it didn't look like it's in plain as 7. It was this Fanta box, and this Fanta box was in the garbage can that we had talked about, right?
Correct.
And as we went through that and laid that out yesterday, this garbage can's over there on the patio. We're going to see it in a minute. We're going to play it quick.
Okay.
But you go out that patio door that you would describe, that's where Kacee would be, right?
Yeah.
That's where people would go and come, that were her friends, and how she would leave and arrive for her life, for the way she operated there, right?
Yeah.
She'd sit out there on that patio and smoke and talk. Sometimes you could overhear it, things like that, right?
Yep.
That's Kacee's garbage can.
Yep.
And you find, and you address that garbage can, the only reason is you're cleaning up Kacee's past. And that's why you end up coming into contact with this
And all
Fanta
this
box.
was found,
Correct.
Now, the Fanta
I
box
believe, in the
is not
trash up
surprising
on the
insofar
patio,
as
up by the patio.
Casey, that's her favorite drink. Casey bought and
Back
drank
door of the
Fanta,
house.
orange.
From the
And
basement.
Rebecca, did you know that they found cans of it in her room on the 12th?
Yep.
As you take it out to crush it, to put it in the garbage or recycling, wherever you put it,
Yeah.
I won't put you on the spot for that. There's something in it. It's this black rag, right?
Yep.
And syringes and insulin. That's what you end up finding out is in it.
Yes.
So, okay, at this point in time, this is the, I think, 18th, but at any rate, you absolutely know that there's an investigation going on and that Casey's believed to have died because of an insulin overdose, right?
Yes.
You've discussed that regularly with Detective Forney and Special Agent Hale, right?
Yeah.
So here you come across insulin syringe in a garbage can right outside where Kacee would put her garbage, where Kacee would go. And so you call Detective Forney, right?
Yep.
And say, hey, you tell her what you found, right?
Yeah.
Now, she doesn't tell you to hold the scene, don't touch anything, I'll be over, or I'll send a CSI over, or we'll collect it, just leave it. She just tells you, hey, set it out and photograph it. Do you remember that?
I don't remember anything about the conversation.
Okay. Well, she'll be on the stand, and I'll ask her. At any rate, I think you had said that this looks like the workbench and looks like a photograph that you could have taken because, well, you said you don't remember what Forney told you, but it was something. Forney told you to do something, and it certainly wasn't do nothing. Right?
Yeah, my brother did a lot of woodwork, and he built that bench, and that bench was out on the patio. So I would have picked up the box and just put it on that bench. If I don't even remember taking the picture, but I'm sure I did, so.
And again, you said you don't remember the exact conversation, and I guess that's fair, but it'll become clear with this clip that we're going to show anyway, because Detective Forney, I'm sorry, does come over on the 19th for a couple hours to do a number of things at your house, right? Remember that? The next day? You don't remember? Well, let's show some clips, and maybe we'll end up having to show more. Maybe we can do it with the detective, though, too, since you obviously don't have these things in your possession in terms of body cameras and stuff like that. Let me tell you that it was the 19th, and that Special Agent Hale's Detective Forney and some other people who are going to be witnesses or related, I don't think, but came over, and I guess I'm going to ask you what the purpose is. Ultimately, I'm going to have to ask them. But let me ask you if you recall that among the things that were done when they came over that day was address this question of the Fanta box. Do you remember that?
Of what?
The Fanta box evidence.
Yeah. I don't remember the specifics of any conversation.
I'll probably have to do that then with the detective. If it is the case that the detective just asked you to put the evidence in a plastic bag and she would pick it up, you would have done that, right?
Examining this guy.
Yeah.
You don't recall being told to use gloves or take any precautions when you put this evidence into a plastic bag so she could just pick it up,
All
right?
day yesterday.
I
said
don't
you
recall.
recall.
Yeah, she
In day
would have put it in a plastic bag if I was instructed.
Let me show you what's on the screen right now and see if you recognize where that is.
That's the downstairs kitchen.
Now, again, you were never asked to take pictures of your house or, to your knowledge, had any police officers come in and take pictures so they could document what it looked like or anything like that, right?
Right.
But here we are on some body camera. Do you recognize that's you? In the right, with that ball cap on?
Yep.
Okay. You're down in the kitchen, there's some boxes, and I'm going to move to admit this clip as defendant's B.
Ms. Hunt?
I guess I don't know how much of, are you playing the entire thing?
How long is it? 52 seconds. Oh, it's on there. This is a clip that is 52 seconds, and I'm happy to play it through non-published before the prosecution has to make a decision about whether they object, if that's appropriate. It comes up in discovery.
Ms. Hunt?
It doesn't. I don't think I have any objection at this point.
I will say, I think I heard in the question about whether it's an original. And I will inform, the only difference is that Detective Forney wears her body camera upside down. And so this did have to be flipped around, and that's why the dates and times are at the bottom. Or is there any other?
Still no objection, Ms. Hunt?
No, not this time.
Thank you. Court will receive defendant's exhibit B. Wish to publish?
Yes, please, Your Honor. And there's also audio. Let me stop it right there. Right there. Oh, go back a little bit, sorry. Till we can see that bag. That's good enough. Wait until you can see the bag if you can, please. Right there. Can you see what Detective Barney is holding up there in a plastic bag?
Yes,
It looked like some of the stuff that you had taken out of the Fanta box.
yes,
When you, well, you said you're not sure exactly what she asked on the phone and such. You don't see a Fanta box there, right?
right,
You don't see the black rag there, right?
right.
Okay, we can play on. Okay, if you could pause for a moment. Where are you headed out to?
The patio,
That's the door you had drawn on your diagram out from the kitchen to the patio, right?
yeah.
Right, we can continue to play it. I may ask you to pause, and I'll give you some. Boom, let's pause there. So here's the patio. Those are the chairs. This is where Kacee would be with her friends, would smoke.
Yep.
Stick her garbage in that gray can there, right?
Yeah,
Well, that's where you found the evidence, right?
yes.
Is that on to the left of it, the desk you're talking about? The workbench?
No, that's a
Oh, that looks
grill, that's a
real.
barbecue that, with the little side table
That's
folded
fine.
up, or up.
I should have realized that. I'm going to go on. Let's go ahead and play it. Stop. That is Detective Barney having you pick up the piece of evidence that she hadn't asked you to yet collect with your bare hands out of the trash can that you ultimately retrieved it the day before. Is that right?
Yeah,
Go ahead and play it. Now, it looks like we don't have, stop it there, will you? You can't see the bag. Does this refresh your recollection that you're talking to her about the stuff she had, that bag she was holding in connection with the Fanta box?
yeah, I mean, I don't remember anything about the conversation.
Okay. Is there not the ability to play the volume, or did we choose not to? Okay. We're checking on volume.
Mr. Farnsworth, do you need to take something? I noticed that an alarm went
Did
off.
it beep?
Yeah, I, just before I came up here, I had a shot, so I think that'll take care of me.
Obviously, we're stopping any second you need to.
I'm good.
You know that, right?
I'm good.
Okay, play it. Boom. In fairness, let's go back a bit if we can, because we can at least slightly hear the volume if we're quiet. I'm not sure why we don't have it stronger, but let's, if we're all quiet, and play it again from there, for your benefit, Mark, to refresh your recollection that you're talking to her about the box, about the evidence that you're holding in your bare hand. Okay.
With that box, and everything was in a box, but it was stuck in here. I usually pull these out and stamp them down, and I could feel there was something in there, so.
And this is not yours.
Well, it could be, but I have no idea for sure.
Boom. So that refreshes your recollection. The Detective Barney comes over to you, talks about the Fanta box evidence, talks to you about who it could be, talks about where you found it. You retrieve it right out of a garbage can, and in front of Detective Barney, stick it back in the garbage can, right?
Yeah,
That's where it stayed. You ultimately threw it away from there? Remember
yeah,
that?
at some point, I would have stamped it down and taken it to the big garbage can that goes out to the curb.
Same for the black rag.
Yeah, probably, I don't remember.
And change topics and subjects again to what will probably be my final. You were asked some questions by the prosecutor yesterday about what Kacee did in the form of stealing money from your grandparents, right?
My parents.
I'm sorry, her grandparents, her
Yep.
grandparents.
Yep.
Thank you, thank you. I'm prone to that. So let's start over. You know that Kacee was stealing money from your grandparents, right?
From my
Objection, the
parents.
state's evidence.
Yeah,
Did I say parents again?
you said my grandparents,
Hold
but
on, as to the objection.
The state's evidence calls for a legal conclusion.
I thought we'd been through this, but I can lay foundation.
Please do.
Sounds like we're gonna have to take this a little bit backwards. At some point, there were irregularities with your parents' third time's a charm bank accounts, right?
Yeah.
And you talked about that a bit yesterday, and I want to talk about it more, all right?
Okay.
Sounds like we need to start from what the final conclusion was about that stuff, okay?
Okay.
Because in relation to that activity, there was concerns that things were done with that card that were not your parents doing them, right?
Correct.
Money being used on those accounts that wasn't your parents using it, right?
Right.
Now, you wanted to know and investigate that. You said that yesterday, right?
Yeah, my sister and I were trying to figure out what was happening.
And even though that investigation into what happened, that happened throughout a time and to a point where after Kacee had passed, right?
Right.
Now we're going to get to the point the point about she might have known about it. Okay. Well, let's just talk about what your investigation resulted in. Did you involve complaints to authorities?
Yeah, we got in contact with the credit card company and my parents' bank.
Did you also, end up getting reported for an investigation on elderly abuse to the Department of Health and Human Services?
Yes.
And in terms of police work, you certainly informed Detective Farney and Special Agent Hales about it, right?
I don't recall.
You might have to play some clips. You don't recall that even that on the 12th, that day that we saw you walking in the Fanta box and showing it that you and Kylie and Kay were all down asking Detective Farney and Special Agent Hales what you could do about it, and then it looked like money was missing?
Yeah, I don't recall. I don't think that would have been on the 12th.
Well, I don't want to challenge you too much on the dates and times again. We've seen the body camera and we know, and it sounds like they haven't shown you. But that continued on. You investigated it. Elderly abuse was investigated by a state agency, right?
Yeah, and I was surprised to hear from them. Some lady, I think her name was Joanne, and one other came. But when they showed up at my parents' house, that was surprising to me. I don't know how they got involved.
And you talked to Detective Farney and Special Agent Hales about it being money that was ultimately, your concern was, taken and stolen unauthorized by Kacee, right?
Yeah.
And even we're told by Farney that you could use a case number, generate a police case number to use to try to get some refunds from the banks and things, right?
Yes.
Certainly Detective Farney and Special Agent Hales did not push back to you on the notion that Kacee had taken the money. They said they'd help you in that regard so that you could try to get some of it back, right?
Yeah.
So investigations are done regardless of whether you know how it was generated for elderly abuse by a state agency, correct?
Yes.
And you knew that they got a little screwed up. They wondered whether or not Kay was involved, remember?
I don't remember that.
At any rate, a result of that investigation was communicated to you, right?
Yes.
And then it was supported for elderly abuse for Kacee taking the money, right?
Yes.
And ultimately as well, do you remember that the taking of money, I won't use the word theft, Kacee taking the money had ramped up in the 2 months prior to her death?
Yes.
And ultimately, it was $68,000, wasn't it?
I don't know that I ever knew what the exact amount was, but it was significant.
Now, the prosecutor kept asking you what you would have done, whether you would have tried to put her in jail and things like that, but was also pressing some sort of notion that you didn't confront Kacee directly about it.
We didn't know what the issue was until after Casee's death.
So even though Kacee presumably knew what she was doing, you hadn't figured it out enough to tell her, right?
Right.
However, you honestly referenced that you had your suspicions, spoke about bank records with Kay, and spoke about canceling the credit card, right?
Yes.
And that discussion was roughly 4 days before Kacee's death, right?
Yeah, somewhere in that time frame.
And that you believed and worried that Kacee was privy to that Kacee could have heard about it, could have known about it, right?
Yeah.
And that worried you, didn't it, after the fact, after Kacee's death, dying?
Yeah.
Because there was discussions early on about whether or not Kacee could have committed suicide, right?
Yeah.
You didn't know.
No.
When you found out about this theft, you did worry about that in connection with whether she committed suicide, didn't you?
Yes.
And you got a hold of Detective Farney so you could tell Detective Farney about your concerns, right?
I don't recall that, but wouldn't surprise me.
I'm going to play a recording if I'm allowed. Could you put what I'll call defendant's C up? Or hold it, it's audio.
It's already up.
Okay, I guess can I get some more foundation about what this is?
I'm going to ask if this is your voice, to see if you recognize your voice. Or I could state the foundation if the state would like.
Ms. Hunt?
I guess play a few seconds and see if he recognizes it. I just don't know at all what this is yet.
And let's be careful, I'm not sure why, but let's be careful about foundation. Trying to lay foundation that a phone call was made to Detective Farney on the subject of theft, and the concern about theft might be related to what Kacee would do if she thought she was going to get caught. You had that concern, right?
Yeah.
And you do not remember the date, but the concern was great enough that you made a call to Detective Farney. The telephone, okay? Right?
I don't specifically remember, but I can see myself doing that, yeah.
Let me play a little bit of this to see if you recognize your voice. If we have a good sound this time. You recognize that voice?
No?
Okay, so my sister and I,
Let me stop there.
Yep.
You recognize that voice?
Yep.
That's you, right?
That's my annoying voice, yeah.
I find it quite common, Mark, so we can disagree on that. All right. Represent that this is a phone call. The witness has identified his voice. I guess it goes to wait, we'll lay further foundation if the state still requires it with Detective Farney.
Ms. Hunt?
No objection.
Thank you. Court received Defense Exhibit C. You can publish.
Sure, let's start from the beginning and see how loud we can get it, unless it's really super loud.
okay, so my sister and I, on last Tuesday, going through my mom and dad's banking statements, we had things put on all of their accounts
Okay.
about a month or 6 weeks ago because they just can't do it anymore.
Okay.
And Kaylin was saying, I can't account for about $1,000.
Okay.
And we were talking about that in the kitchen on Tuesday. And I said, okay, tomorrow morning I'll go down to the bank and I'll get their banking statements from the last 3 months. And I'm pretty sure Kacee was there in the kitchen when she and Kaylin and I were talking.
Okay.
But I went into the bank and got these statements, and there's about $1,700 that it looks to us, and Kaylin and I don't know. We're going back into the bank next week to have our friends at the bank explain what this stuff is. And it looks like there's about $1,700 at Kacee over the last taken out of their finance account.
Well, I found a credit card statement that I'll need to ask you about. It's similar in nature to that, but I'm actually here in San Quentin, so I'm going to call you back if that's okay.
Okay.
Okay, I
I
appreciate
was
it.
just thinking that if
So
Kacee,
far,
this
the
was what
defense has a
Kacee out,
good
she
argument.
felt like we were
I
going to
mean,
find out what she'd been up to.
Okay.
She's been up to some weird stuff
maybe you can look into it while I
busted.
before I can call you back. It's his Cabela's credit card. Your dad's statement was in her room. The credit card is almost $13,000, and it looked like at least the recent charges were things like Venmo, DoorDash, things that I'm guessing your dad aren't doing, like Apple.com. So if you want to look into that, or we can talk about that a little later. But I'm going to go for now, and I'll keep it up there. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Mike.
All right.
Thank you. Thanks.
You ever concerned that if Kacee was certainly in a point she could have overheard and known about your intent to investigate the theft, right?
Yes.
You were concerned that's important information that Detective Farney should have, right?
Yes.
As you said, because if she thought you were going to find out, it would wipe her out.
Yep.
She would react very severely.
Objection calls for speculation.
I'll strike that and move to this. You don't know what it would have done, but you did get ready even as recently as last February, just weeks ago, and and have a conversation to prepare for trial, right, with the prosecutors?
Yes.
The subject came up again even when you talked to them,
I mean,
right?
she was up to
Yeah.
some shady business, you know. I mean, $13,000
You once
the credit
again-
card was at for Venmo, DoorDash, Apple.com.
Told them that
You know,
that
and even the bank or the
discussion
credit
you
card
and Kay
lady
were
said,
having
I
in the
know it's
kitchen
not
was at a
dad
time
or your dad,
when
she
it was in
said,
the presence
to Mark.
of Kacee.
So, I mean, it's
Right.
obvious
Yes.
she was in trouble and she was getting wrapped up and caught up.
You're probably
And
concerned,
not
Kacee.
fully yet, but she was getting there.
that?
And she
Told
knew
me that
it. She
again.
felt the
False
pressure. She
speculation.
felt the heat,
Sustained.
in my opinion.
The subject came up
He's-
again.
he's-
that
he's
you
been
just heard in that
presenting a
call
good argument,
As recently
in
as
my
a couple
opinion.
weeks ago when you talked to the
Not saying that
prosecutors,
she's
right?
not guilty,
Yes.
because I want to see everything.
And you specifically gave them your concerns and impressions in hindsight. Do you remember that?
I don't remember that, but I would guess that yes, I probably.
That your concerns, your beliefs, your knowledge of this whole subject in this circumstance, 2 weeks before this trial, is it could have been a motive for Kacee to commit suicide. You told them that.
A possibility, yes.
All right, thanks for answering the questions. That's all I have for this.
Thank you. Redirect?
Yes, I'll try to be brief. You were just asked about parents' finances and kind of the timeline of when you had been suspicious of or ultimately discovered that something happened, right? You remember that?
Yes.
You weren't part of, you were asked if officials were contacted and did an investigation. You maybe would have given them relevant information, but you certainly weren't part of the investigation team.
No.
As to the objection overruled.
So again, you're not part of the investigation team.
No.
On August 16th, Mr. Williams just played you that clip where you're calling Detective Farney, and at the time you're saying that $1,700 is missing, or you're not sure what happened to $1,700. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
And then you were asked about, it's heard in that call that something about this would have wiped Kacee out. Do you remember what you meant by that at the time, wiped out?
Yeah, it would have been emotionally traumatic for her.
You were asked about a conversation that you had with the state a few weeks ago in preparation for trial, and at that point you said, in hindsight, it may have been a possible motive for suicide. Is that fair?
Yes.
Did you, at the time that Kacee was alive, did anything about her demeanor, behavior, anything like that indicate to you that she was suicidal?
No.
Did anything at the time indicate to you that she was concerned about you looking into the finances?
No.
Even though you believe she may have overheard a conversation that you had with your sister about the finances, nothing about her demeanor or behavior or anything she said to you gave you concern at the time that she was concerned about that?
No, the morning of August 12th, the conversation that Kacee and I had in the downstairs kitchen was really good.
Do you remember how long ultimately that, whatever investigation happened about the credit cards, do you remember how long it took before they kind of came back with some kind of conclusion?
I don't, because, we had a couple of different credit cards that we were with different companies, if I remember right, that we were trying to do research into, and also into all of my parents' bank accounts. So I don't specifically remember details from each of those financial accounts that we were trying to look into.
Fair to say it took a bit of time to kind of figure out what had gone on?
Yeah.
We asked you, and
We need-
Mr. Williams asked you a bit yesterday about, I'm going to change topics here. Remember we talked about the syringe you ended up finding after the flood when you're pulling up the carpet?
Yes.
Yesterday you stated that you thought you found it in the middle of the floor. Have you since had a chance to review body cam of your conversation with Detective Farney about finding that syringe?
Yes.
Did that refresh your recollection of the circumstances of you finding that?
Yeah.
Tell us how, now based on your memory, how you found that syringe.
Okay, if you refer back to the video that we just looked at a few minutes ago where Detective Farney came over to the house and I gave her the plastic bag with the Fanta box contents. In that video, you can see stacks of boxes and everything like that. You know, when the carpet started to stink, I moved everything out of Kacee's room into the kitchen in there, and so that's why that kitchen looks like a bomb went off in there. When I started moving all of the stuff out, in Kacee's closet, it was stacked with those 13-gallon white trash bags full of Fanta cans and medical debris from her IV stuff that she used to do. And so I think that that syringe probably came from that pile of garbage that was in the closet, and I may have picked it up and put it somewhere, I don't know.
Do you remember at what point you contacted Detective Harney about finding that?
I don't.
I'm going to ask to show the witness what's been marked as State's Exhibit 151. Let me know when you see that.
Okay.
Do you recognize this?
Yes.
Is this the video that we just talked about that you reviewed about the circumstances about finding the syringe?
Yeah, now that closet door that is open there is not where, it's the other closet door there that you can see to,
Okay, let me stop you there because we'll get to that in a second, but you recognize this video?
yeah.
I'm going to move to admit State's Exhibit 151.
Mr. Williams?
Once again, we've never received this as an exhibit. We'll address how much has been done with this witness overnight. It appears, is it 11 seconds long?
Yes.
It appears, since it's right side up, that it was something we gave you?
No,
You did check that. I'm just trying to make sure it's of the same thing. All right, 151?
yes,
Court will receive States 151, which to publish.
yes.
Is that another syringe?
Yeah.
And then that other syringe?
Yeah.
Where was it?
It was on the floor here somewhere. It was in a closet on the floor.
Oh, okay. Is that?
All right. So you said it was on the floor here somewhere, and then you said it was in the closet on the floor. Does that refresh your recollection more about how you found that syringe?
Yeah.
You talked about the closet having been full of trash and medical supplies. Do you remember if you said it might have been on top of those, all that other things in the closet? Do you remember exactly where that syringe was?
I don't remember exactly that. This used to make me a little mad because Kacee would throw all of her trash in those 13-gallon trash bags and then just throw it in that closet. And then like on Monday, she'd take 7 or 8 of them out and throw them in the big trash can and fill it up. And now the rest of the week, nobody else had anywhere to put garbage before it went out to the curb. And so that's,
So there was a lot of things in that closet.
yeah, and common.
Either way, fair to say that did the video refresh your recollection that that syringe was found in the closet?
Yeah.
What other, you said other medical supplies were in there. What kinds of things?
Mainly things that she would have used for her IV treatments that she did.
So we're talking.
Tubing, other types of the big syringes that, I have no idea how that stuff works, but that kind of thing. And then little vials of whatever it was she was taking.
You said syringes are part of maybe the supplies that were in there.
Yeah.
And you just said bigger syringes. How do you differentiate? I believe in the video you say an insulin syringe. How are you able to differentiate between an insulin syringe versus a bigger syringe?
Size and diabetic syringes have an orange cap. The syringes that Kacee used for IV came individually packaged in like a plastic thing that was probably about that big. So those kind of, the packaging for medical supplies and things like that were also in those trash bags.
Mr. Williams asked you if you believed that Kacee was on hospice, and you said right.
Yes.
You said you did, right?
Yeah.
What made you believe that Kacee was on hospice?
And she told me.
Were there other circumstances that seemed to support that to you?
Yeah, she had nurses that would come occasionally, on-site physical therapy or in-home physical therapy, weekly deliveries of medical supplies.
The weekly deliveries of medical supplies, were you ever privy to what that kind of stuff looked like?
No, they came in a white box every week, and there was, some weeks there would be multiple boxes because they'd send the bags of fluid. But that was, like a regular occurring thing that those supplies would be delivered.
You mentioned bags of fluid. Do you know what that fluid was?
Saline.
Saline.
Yeah.
Do you know the purpose that Kacee would have needed that saline for?
For the IV treatment.
Did you believe that to be for her cancer or?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know do you know if that kind of treatment is necessary for her kidney condition?
I wouldn't know.
You were asked about blessings, and Mr. Williams said that Kacee asked you for blessings surrounding her cancer. You said maybe not specifically cancer, but comfort for maybe other health issues as well. Is that right?
Yes.
What other health issues did you know that Kacee had?
Anxiety, the kidney issues, retaining fluid. So there's a lot that she had going on.
And then we know from testimony and your testimony yesterday that she got a knee replacement, right?
Yes.
We heard from the surgeon that did that knee replacement that was performed on July 23rd. Does that refresh your recollection? You did not have a specific memory of when that knee replacement happened.
Yes.
Does July 23rd sound fair?
Yes.
So that's about, again, my math's not great, but maybe 2.5 weeks before her death?
Yeah.
You mentioned that she had physical therapists, people coming over. Do you remember the time frame of those folks coming to the house?
I don't.
Are you aware if she was performing physical therapy for her knee replacement?
Yeah.
Mr. Williams showed you the body cam of this trash can on the patio with the Fanta box. Remember that?
Yes.
In the body cam, Detective Farney asks, could this have been your insulin? I believe you said that it could be yours, you don't know. But I want to clarify what you meant by that. Because yesterday we had testimony that, I guess, is that insulin that you would have thrown in that garbage can?
No, I wouldn't have. And, if there wasn't an investigation of a death, if I would have found that, but since that orange cap was off of it, I'd have thrown it away.
But it's not a place that you originally would have thrown it away?
No.
So when you say in the video it could have been yours, what did you mean by that?
Well, it could have been taken out of the refrigerator, and I don't remember what I don't know if I even looked at the date, the expiration date on the insulin. But if it would have been older, or even possibly Kyle's, I don't inventory that and keep track of it.
So that insulin could have at one point belonged to you, but it's not where you would have thrown it away.
Right.
How did that patio trash can typically get emptied?
I would take it up to the big trash can that goes out to the curb in the garage.
How frequently would you do that?
It'd take her about a month to fill it up with like empty cigarette cartons and Fanta boxes and just that kind of stuff.
Do you remember the last time that trash had been emptied before you found the Fanta box?
I don't.
Judge, I want to ask permission to do a demonstration. I've talked to defense about this, and my understanding is he does not have an objection. I think it would require a lapel mic. We have a glucometer here that is the same type and model of the one that's at instance in this case, and I want the witness to demonstrate for the jury how that's used, the process of testing one's blood sugar.
Mr. Williams?
Yeah, we had talked about it, then it wasn't done on direct. Clearly, that's way outside the scope.
He asked about it across the glucometer, types of glucometers, how many there were present in the home came up.
I don't have objection. You want to do it.
All right, you can. You want to get a mic?
Yes. Permission to approach the witness?
Absolutely.
This isn't going to involve actually pricking a finger and drawing.
No, certainly no. No, he's just going to walk through the process.
I'm happy to do that if you want.
Through enough.
With your leg, are you able to maybe just kind of come down and stand right here and demonstrate to the jury?
Yeah.
So they can see a little easier? This one, sorry. Just make sure that it got clipped on. Oh. To the top. Thank you, thanks. All right, so I'm handing you this demonstrative. And without actually pricking your finger, and if you could verbally walk through the steps that you're taking, show how measuring blood sugar happens with this monitor.
Okay. All right. So this is what they call the test strip. So you take that out, insert it into the monitor, that activates, turns the monitor on, then it gives you instructions to prick your finger, get some blood, then you just put the blood on the end of that test strip, and then this starts counting down. And the older models of these used to count down for 30 seconds, and I think this one, I'm guessing, would count down from 5 seconds. They got better over time. And then it would flash a number of what your blood sugar level is right here.
Okay, thank you. Using that glucometer, you said you prick your finger. Typically, how much blood is coming out with that prick?
Just one drop.
How do you typically clean that up after you've pricked your finger? Do you use like a cotton ball or a tissue or wipe it somewhere? I know that that might differ, but.
I lick my finger and wipe it on my pants.
If I could just have one moment. I don't have any other questions.
Mr. Williams?
Briefly, Your Honor. So we're all thrown. First of all, Kacee, with all the work she was doing in that house, with what people were doing, with how she was helping your mother, she certainly used the glucometer, would know how to use it, right?
Yes.
Clear up this hospice thing. She told you she was on hospice that you assumed was for her cancer treatment, right?
Right.
And she had told you that over the course of years, hadn't she?
Yep.
I heard you referred to this syringe on the floor that you found after police had been in that room for days and searched it.
I need a verbal answer.
Yes.
EMTs had been in that room, right?
Yes.
Police officers had been around that room, right?
Yes.
You have, strike it, that's argument. You said that you had been shown this and refreshed your recollection since last night?
Yeah.
I mean, since, your testimony yesterday, you've been working with the prosecutors in preparation for today's testimony?
I met with them for just a second, yeah,
Was that last night or this morning?
this morning.
And they took that opportunity to show you evidence and refresh your recollection outside the presence of this jury?
Yeah.
Was Special Agent Hales there?
No.
Was Detective Farney there?
No.
Well, let's go to this. I don't have any way of, I guess, except asking you what total circumstances were there then, but it's about, you were asked these questions again about suicide, and again, her seeming to you okay, as you're asking her to clean up her dishes in the morning, et cetera, right?
Yeah.
Even though there had been this discussion that you thought she might have heard a couple days before that would wipe her out and cause her emotional trauma if she knew she was going to get caught. But in the morning that you engaged with her, she seems okay.
Yeah.
So let's just talk about what the prosecutors have talked to you about that morning. They never told you that in the previous couple days she had generated a text script about inviting Meggan over? Did they ever tell you that?
No.
Did they tell you that that script was about doing suicide with insulin?
No.
She hadn't told you she was going to use a glucometer in the process of that?
No.
She hadn't told you that she had taken the glucometer and even used it and tested her blood before?
No.
You didn't know, in relation to that morning, that for days she had been communicating with the person she told you she didn't want to be around, right?
Right.
And invited her over for those events that we now know occurred, right?
Yeah, I don't know that she invited her, but
She, that morning, certainly, Kacee never told you that.
no.
And you know it now, right?
Yeah.
No.
Anything else from the state?
May we approach, Judge?
Any additional questions for this witness?
No, Judge, thank you.
Mr. Farnsworth, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Feel free to step down. Counsel, I think this might be a good time for our morning break. Is everybody okay with that? Take a few minutes.
Yes.
All right, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we're going to take a short recess. I remind you that you are admonished by the court that it is your duty not to converse among yourselves or to converse with any other person on any subject of the trial, and it is your duty not to form or express an opinion thereon until the case is finally submitted to you. This includes no individual research on the parties, attorneys, or claims.
All rise for the jury.
Thank you. Please be seated.
Can I make a quick record, Judge, and that is only this. We did not, in open court there, to determine that Mr. Farnsworth is released. And out of an abundance of current concern, I don't want to be released. But I don't object to having an exception to the exclusionary rule if he desires to stay.
So he can. So you're okay if he remains, but as far as rebuttal or things of that nature,
I don't want to be excluded
It's
from the
fair game.
possibility of recalling him, but I am willing, if his desire is to stay, considering the nature of the matter and his connection to it, that he can stay and be accepted from the rule.
anything from the state on that?
I think we'd agree to that.
Okay. All right. Let's come back. Or you're going to have your next witness ready?
Yes.
Moment. All right. Let's come back at 20 after. Oh, and so counsel too, we've got to break early for lunch just a little bit, about 10 till. I've got a district meeting I've got to run. So we're going to break about 10 to noon for lunch.
Okay.
And I apologize. It's 10 minutes that we could use.
Probably
but
give you a good excuse to get out of that.
I wish it did. All right. We'll be back in a moment.
All right.
Thank you. Please be seated. We're going to go back on the record on case 251-401-132, State of Utah versus Sundwall. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, welcome back. We ready with our next witness?
Sarah Varner.
Thank you. Please come forward. We'll get you sworn in.
Please raise your right hand. You do solemnly swear the testimony you shall give in the case now before the court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Yes.
Come on up and have a seat. Thanks for being here. As long as you can keep that mic in front of you, it'll all work. Counsel.
Thank you, Judge. Good morning. Would you tell us your name and spell your last name, please?
Yeah, Sarah Varner, V as in Victor, A-R-N-E-R.
How are you employed?
With the Utah County Attorney's Office.
What do you do for the Utah County Attorney's Office?
I am a victim witness coordinator.
Are you subject to approval as far as any of your pay goes or anything by the attorneys in that office, the individual attorneys?
Sorry.
Job performance related to making the attorneys in the office happy?
Oh, no.
And what is your job involved?
I help all victims and witnesses in trial, make sure that they're here when they need to be, and we do trial prep with them, and then I'm here during the trials.
Okay, this morning, did you have an opportunity to meet with Mark Farnsworth?
Yes, I did.
And did you see him just testify a minute ago?
Yes, I did.
Were you present this morning when he reviewed the body camera that was played in court?
Yes.
Who else was there?
Lauren and Chelsea.
And by Lauren, you mean?
Lauren Hunt, the prosecutor.
Okay, and who is Chelsea?
She's our paralegal.
Okay. Were any instructions given to Mr. Farnsworth about how to testify regarding that clip?
No.
Was any more played than the 11 seconds that were played in court?
No.
Thank you, that's all I have.
Any questions, Mr. Williams?
No.
Thanks for being here. You can sit down. Next witness.
The state calls Scott Larson.
Good morning, sir. Please come forward. Come up here near the clerk and we'll get you sworn in. Come on up here.
Please raise your hand. You do solemnly swear the testimony you shall give in the case now before the court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
Come on up here and have a seat. We appreciate you being here. As long as you can keep that mic in front of you at all times, we can make a good record and we'll all be able to hear. Thank you. Counsel.
Good morning. If you could state your name for the record.
My name is Scott Larson, Larson.
What is your occupation?
I am a forensic toxicologist.
Briefly tell us what that means.
Forensic toxicology is the field of testing biological specimens for drugs, alcohol, and poisons.
I want to talk about what kind of training and education is required for this position. Can you briefly go through your educational background?
Yes, I have a bachelor's degree in science in biology and another bachelor of science in medical technology and a master's degree in pharmaceutical sciences.
How long have you been a forensic toxicologist?
For just over 20 years.
Does it require, you just listed the degrees that you have, does it require those degrees, the job?
Some base level science degree is necessary, yes.
Does it require, does your specific job title require any certifications?
I've been board certified by the American Board of Forensic Toxicology since 2010, and that's one of the requirements at my employment.
To keep that board certification, do you have to do some kind of continuing education requirements every year, anything like that?
Yes, I've been doing continuing education over the course of my entire career, but specifically, the board certification requires a minimum amount of continuing education per year that gets documented and turned in.
Or do you always keep current on that?
Yes.
When we're talking about your job, is it fair to call them tests, or do you run tests on blood or specimens for substances? How should I refer to that?
Tests or assays, yes.
About how many tests do you perform in a typical year?
Well, for my position at this point, what I do is review. So in terms of reviewing analytical data, I review roughly 12,500 cases per year.
At what point, I guess, at one point in your career did you actually do the testing?
Yes, for many years. I started as a bench toxicologist in my first job and did that for probably the first 10 to 15 years.
And now it sounds like your job is to review the tests that have been done by somebody else?
Yes.
And what are you reviewing for? What does that look like?
So the NMS, where my laboratory that I work for, we run basically like an assembly line type system, and I'm on the last phase of that line. And what I look at is all of the initial documentation that gets turned into our laboratory, the chain of custody, which tracks the sample and what happens to the sample through its lifespan and testing at the lab, all of the analytical screening data, confirmation data. I write the report and then release it to the agency that requested it.
Do you know what case we're here today about?
Yes.
Kacee Terry, does that name ring a bell?
Yes.
Did you review the testing that was done on the specimens involved in this case?
Yes, I released 2 reports on this case.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 13. You have a screen up there. Let me know when you're able to see that. Sometimes it flickers a bit before it stays.
Came and went. It's on.
It'll just takes a bit to warm up.
Do you see that?
I do, yes.
Do you recognize that?
I do, yes.
What is this?
This is a toxicology report released from our laboratory.
Is this something that you prepared or
Yep.
reviewed?
Yes,
Sorry, which of those? Prepared, reviewed, both?
both.
State moves to admit Exhibit 13.
No objection.
Court received States 13. Wish to publish?
Yes, thank you. All right, before we get to, there's a box that says positive findings. I'm going to get to those in a second. If we can scroll down. I want to ask just briefly so the jury can understand when we're talking about, it says gray stopper, red stopper, different tubes and caps. I want to go through what those things mean. So I guess, can you explain the different tube types? Let's start there.
Yes, a gray stopper tube is, excuse me, a gray stopper tube is the recommended tube in forensic toxicology. It contains 2 different components, potassium oxalate and sodium fluoride. The potassium oxalate helps make it so the blood does not coagulate and stays in a liquid form. The sodium nitrate, or the sodium fluoride, I'm sorry, is an antibacterial, so that will eliminate bacterial growth within the blood sample. A red top tube or a red stopper tube does not contain anything, and that means there will be levels of coagulation in serum. A white cap plastic container, the specimen number 8, the liver, came in, does not contain anything. It's just a normal plastic cup with no additives whatsoever. These different types of containers are used just because different tests have different recommendations on what additives are needed. So, but gray top tubes is standard in forensic toxicology.
Okay. If we look over a few columns, there's something labeled a matrix source, and there's hospital blood, femoral blood, and a few other things. What does hospital blood mean?
Hospital blood is just blood that is collected at the hospital prior to death.
Prior to death?
Yes.
What does femoral blood mean?
Femoral blood is postmortem blood, and that is what's called peripheral blood, and that would be collected from your femoral artery, which is in the kind of the upper section of your thigh.
When you're doing your testing or your review, does it make a difference whether something is hospital blood or femoral blood?
It does not make any difference in the testing. That's all done the same. It does make differences sometimes in your interpretation of those results.
So it looks like in this case we have both hospital blood and femoral blood.
Yes.
Why might that make a difference in results?
Well, there's a lot of different reasons. I think the first one is if you look under collection, date, and time, the hospital blood was drawn on August 12th of 2024, where the femoral blood was collected on August 16th. So with that 4-day window, there you would expect different results because your body could metabolize, things like that. So the hospital blood would be theoretically, we would receive results that would happen before any the hospital, anything that the hospital would have given them. You'd see those results more in the femoral blood, so you'd see differences in the results.
And then also you mentioned hospital blood is prior to death, femoral blood is after death. Can death make a difference in what's in, I guess, a sample?
Yes, it can. There's different types of activities that can happen in the body post-death. One of them is called postmortem redistribution, which is just the kind of diffusion of drugs from your central cavity throughout your body, so that can kind of increase the concentration of certain drugs. You sometimes can also get, in certain circumstances, increases or the artificial creation of ethanol from bacteria in your body using glucose to create alcohol. So things like, there are some differences, yes.
Okay. I want to scroll down on the exhibit. At the top, we see detailed findings, analysis, and comments. I want to go through this. The first one is naloxone, and I'm sorry, to clarify, these would be, I guess, tell us what exact findings these relate to. I guess, what patient are we talking about?
This would be from Kacee Terry.
Okay. What is naloxone?
Naloxone is a opiate antagonist drug that's used usually in hospitals, but now you can get it outside of hospital use. To stop opiate overdoses.
And the result here was what?
It was presumptive positive. This is something that came up in our initial drug screen that is not part of normal confirmation. So it came up on a screen, but it was not confirmed.
Is naloxone typically given in a medical setting in certain circumstances?
Typically, yes. Many times if someone is kind of struggling, they will just, nowadays, hospitals will just automatically give naloxone based on the rise of opiate overdoses across the country.
So even if it's not confirmed that an opioid overdose is...
Yes, because it doesn't hurt anyone, so it'll either help them or it doesn't matter.
Okay. The next one we see down is oxycodone free. What is oxycodone? What is oxycodone, first of all?
Oxycodone is a narcotic analgesic used for pain relief.
And what does the free mean?
It can be found in two different ways in the body, either free, which means not bound by plasma, or conjugated. So we test for free, which is the normal forensic way, but we just like to clarify what we're reporting.
Okay. What was the result here for oxycodone?
It came up in the initial drug screen, and then it was then followed by a confirmation, and it was 34 nanograms per mil.
And what was the specimen source for that?
Hospital blood.
34 nanograms per milliliter. Help us understand what that result means.
34 nanograms per mil would be considered a therapeutic dose of oxycodone.
For anybody?
Yes, I mean, that would be like your normal prescription with a tablet. Obviously, there are different prescriptions. I mean, doctors would give different people different prescription amounts of the amount that they would take, but this falls within the range that you would expect.
So you would not expect 34 nanograms per milliliter to cause an overdose?
Not unless there's very unique circumstances.
We talked before about naloxone, which is given if an opioid overdose is suspected. Would that being given at the hospital lower the oxycodone level in the blood?
It wouldn't change the oxycodone level. What it would mean is the oxycodone would not be able to bind to the appropriate receptor because the naloxone would be blocking that recepter.
Okay, so this 34...
So it doesn't change the concentration, just whether it's activating the downstream effect in the body.
Okay. We're talking about Kacee Terry here. If she had been prescribed oxycodone and had been taking it for years, does that matter in your interpretation of these levels?
It would. There's something in the human body called tolerance that basically, as you take, the more you take any drug, your body creates a certain level of tolerance to some of the side effects from that. So that's one of the questions I always would ask a medical examiner or coroner that I'm working with is if someone has a prescription for that, because if there is a prescription, especially for a long period of time, you would expect a level of tolerance.
Is that something that you did in this case?
I did not have any conversations with the medical examiner in this case.
Is this level consistent with what you would see in somebody prescribed oxycodone?
Yes.
Let's go down to oxymorphone-free. What is oxymorphone?
So oxymorphone is also a narcotic analgesic that you can get prescribed, but in addition to that, it is a metabolite of oxycodone. So as oxycodone is breaking down in your body, there's a different enzymatic pathways that break it down to that, and then to other later stage compounds, which is just a way for the body to get rid of the oxycodone out of your body.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you a few questions just to make sure that I and the jury understand. You referenced something called a metabolite. What does that mean?
So when you take any drug, or most drugs, not every drug, but most drugs, your body will start breaking it down into similar compounds that are easier to clear out of the body.
So when we're talking about oxymorphone and oxycodone, is oxymorphone a separate drug that is given, or when you're talking about being
found in this case, that most likely the decedent was taking oxycodone, and the oxymorphone that we found was as a metabolite and not taken as a separate drug.
Okay. Here we see under oxymorphone, the result is what?
2.7 nanograms per mil, which is about roughly 1/10 the oxycodone, which is roughly the relationship we see.
So when you're talking about the ratio leading to your interpretation that it's a breaking down metabolite, is that relevant to that?
Yes.
Let's go to the next one, promethazine. What is that?
Promethazine is an antihistamine that's found in over-the-counter allergy medication.
Does it require a prescription? I know you just mentioned over-the-counter.
No, typically it does not.
Is it also something that can be prescribed in certain circumstances? If you know?
There are probably prescriptions, but the majority of the people that use promethazine are just from over-the-counter medications.
I believe you said it's an antihistamine. Does it have any other uses that it is given for?
There may be some off-label uses, but I'm not aware of that.
Does promethazine have any central nervous system effects?
Promethazine is an interesting drug in terms of it's been shown there's a wide variance within the population. The majority of time it has central nervous system depressant effects. There is a subset of the population that will have stimulant effects from it, so it kind of falls on both sides. But in general, it's thought of as having central nervous system depressant effects.
And maybe everybody knows this, maybe this is common knowledge, but briefly tell us what central nervous system depressant effects means.
So there's different, you can have stimulant effects or depressant effects. Depressant effects in general could lead to things like drowsiness, maybe a little bit of uncoordination depending on the drug. And then that would be your normal symptoms that you would just have to get. In worst case scenario, it can lead to respiratory depression and death.
You mentioned worst case scenario. I guess, let me ask first, what's the result we see here?
It is 370 nanograms per mil.
What does that level indicate to you?
That would indicate to me, I would still consider that a therapeutic level of promethazine. There's a fairly wide range in promethazine of what people see in terms of the therapeutic. There's a very long, it takes the body a long time to eliminate promethazine. So if someone is taking it for example, for like allergy medication for like multiple days, because it takes a long time for your body to eliminate it, you can kind of build up concentration even if you're taking it at normal doses.
You mentioned worst case scenario, you might even see a death from this substance. Is this level anywhere near that level?
Well, to clarify, I was talking about just in general of central nervous system depressants.
Oh, okay.
But no, I would consider this within the therapeutic range of promethazine.
Is there a concentration of promethazine, like a level that would start being concerning to you?
There's been promethazine itself as a sole drug. There have been overdoses reported at, say, 4,000, 5,000 nanograms per mil. There are some mixed drug intoxications at like the 1,800 nanogram per mil range, but I'm not aware of any where this would be one of the main drugs this low, especially with in context with the other drugs that are found.
The next one down is alprazolam. What is that?
Alprazolam is a benzodiazepine that's used to treat like anxiety.
And again, maybe this is common knowledge, but briefly explain what a benzodiazepine is.
So there are a lot of benzodiazepines on the market. They are used for a really broad range of uses, a lot of them tied to anxiety.
Does that have a central nervous system depressant effect?
Yes.
What's the result that we see here?
100 nanograms per mil.
Is this a level that was concerning to you?
It's on the high end of the therapeutic range, but within what you would expect, depending on how it was taken.
When you're reviewing these results and creating this report, are you aware that a death has occurred?
Well, I'm aware that deaths occurred just because postmortem samples were submitted to the laboratory. I rarely have very much information when I'm releasing a report. So kind of toxicology falls into two phases. One is the analytical testing, and that's what I focus on when I'm releasing a report. The interpretation would come later if asked.
So when you are creating this report, because there is femoral blood, you're aware that a death has occurred,
Yes.
but you don't have much other information about what's going on?
No.
When you created this report and initially made your findings, were you aware that insulin was involved in this case?
I do not believe so, no.
At some point, did you learn that insulin was involved?
Yes.
Do you remember when you found that out?
Well, I would have found it out for sure during like a pretrial meetings and pretrial calls. There is a submission form that gets sent in from the submitting agency. I don't remember if insulin was noted in that. Like I said, most of the time we get almost no information. So when I focus on the review of cases, it's normally just the demographics, like the name, the submitting agency, things like that. I don't really look at the case history at that point because it doesn't matter to me.
Before you knew that insulin was involved, based on the results that we see here, did it make sense to you that somebody would have died solely from these drugs at the levels that we're seeing present here?
I would not have expected someone to die unless, like I said, there were special circumstances, and that does come up sometimes, and that would normally be through conversation with the medical examiner on what they found at autopsy.
Do any of these drugs listed interact with insulin in a way that explains death?
I am not aware of that.
At some point, were you made aware of Ms. Terry's glucose level when she was taken to the hospital?
No.
Based on your training and experience, would it be typical of somebody to die based solely on the drugs that we see present here, absent some other circumstance?
I would say not, outside of special circumstances.
Is insulin being on board, would you consider that a special circumstance?
Yes.
Does that, I guess, illuminate your findings or your conclusions here in any way?
Yes.
In what way?
Well, in a way that would answer as a more obvious potential cause of death than this drug grouping. But again, I want to stress that, determining cause of death is not really the job of a toxicologist. That's the job of a medical examiner.
Fair enough. Maybe I failed to ask you this. What lab do you work for?
I work for NMS Labs.
Does your lab test for insulin?
We do not know.
Why not?
There are real analytical challenges with testing for insulin. So we had a test years ago, and before I even started there, and stopped testing for it, and I really don't know the background of that. But in my 20 years of working in laboratories, I've never worked in a lab that tested for insulin.
You mentioned analytical challenges to testing for insulin. Do you know more about what that might mean?
I can speak to it a little bit. I mean, I think one of the main issues is that there's both insulin produced in your body and then synthetic insulin that's given. And I think there are issues differentiating between the two.
Does stability issues in the blood relate to that at all in terms of testing for insulin?
It may. I have to admit, I don't, because I've never worked in a lab with insulin testing, I really don't have a lot of background on all of the analytical approaches, so I can't really speak very deeply in that.
Do you know of any forensic toxicology lab in the country that has the ability to test for insulin?
Not that I'm aware of, though. I don't know if there is one or not.
Do you remember if you looked into it for this case?
I believe I have been asked and have looked into it, and I was not able to find one.
So we distinguish between hospital blood and femoral blood, and on all these results that we're seeing here, the source is hospital blood. Are you able to tell how long before the blood draw at the hospital Ms. Terry would have been given or taken these medications?
No.
Would you expect, so we talked about how oxymorphone is a metabolite of oxycodone. Would you expect to see other metabolites of the other drugs involved? Does that question make sense?
It does. We do not, there would be theoretically other compounds there, but we don't test for those other compounds.
When I say the term half-life of a drug, do you know what that term means?
Yes.
What does it mean?
So the half-life of a drug is basically the amount of time that it takes for for your body to eliminate half of the blood concentration of that drug. So, if, like for example, oxycodone has a 5-hour half-life, so you would expect the concentration to get cut in half every 5 hours.
Do different drugs have different half-lives?
Yes.
If a half-life is longer in a certain drug, what does that mean in terms of how it's breaking down in the body?
It just means it would take longer. So, for example, and when I say like oxycodone is 5 and promethazine is, the half-life of promethazine is 15, that's an average. It's a broad range. Some people are much faster, some are slower, but that's the average of it. So, for example, promethazine is 15 hours, so it takes 15 hours for that concentration to get cut in half, where oxycodone is 5.
Would anything in Kacee Terry's system lead you to believe that these drugs alone caused her death?
I mean, as I said earlier, this grouping of drugs is, because of the oxycodone being at 34 nanograms per mil, the grouping of the drugs is not a real cause of concern for me personally, outside of, like I said, special circumstances that the medical examiner would have determined.
Would anything about these drugs together, how they interact together, give you any additional concern for potentially causing death?
Well, I mean, all three of the drugs, the main drugs, oxycodone, promethazine, and alprazolam, are all central nervous system depressants. So it was something to look at and think about, and it really comes down to like the tolerance that we discussed earlier, and I would look at oxycodone as kind of the primary drug here for concern, and with that being at 34, then it lessened the concern I would have. I mean, there are certainly many examples of multi-drug toxicity overdoses with alprazolam at 100. That's actually a fairly common, but you would expect a primary drug like oxycodone to be at a much higher concentration. So.
And we're not seeing
that in this case.
Okay. I'm going to just briefly scroll down on this exhibit just so there's a bunch of Chuck's reference comments, and then it talks about these drugs. We don't have to go into each one, but what's the point of including this section in your report?
So this is a stock reference comments that are published in every report. So every time these drugs are reported out in our reports or in our cases, these stock comments get put in there, and it's basically just to help the submitting agency kind of interpret a little bit of what's going on in that case.
So nothing in this section, and it lists all the drugs that you found present here, but these are stock information, nothing pertains particularly to Ms. Terry in this section of your report?
No, every postmortem case that oxycodone is reported out has the exact same comment.
And that's true of all the drugs we see
Yes.
listed here, if you'll scroll down a little bit. We see oxymorphone, promethazine, that section's, those are all stock.
Yes.
And then I believe down here, we see your signature, is that right?
Yes.
Right, I have nothing further for you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name's Scott Williams. We met on video, but otherwise have never met in person, right?
That's true.
Just a few follow-ups. We've got these levels that you're able to detect when you're doing your toxicology assessment, right?
Yes.
Of each of the drugs, and you've gone through them. By the way, let's talk about how these drugs might get in the body. Overwhelmingly, oxycodone is orally ingested, right?
That's true, yes.
Promethazine is generally orally ingested.
Yes.
Alprazolam is generally orally ingested, correct?
Yes.
All right, and then let me touch the promethazine just for a second, because you indicated, I mean, it is not even a controlled substance. You can buy it over the counter.
Yes.
And while it could act as a central nervous system depressant, it sometimes acts the opposite, right?
With certain people, yes.
So like me with my allergy pills.
Exactly.
Sudafed can do that, right? It can make people sleepy, or it can make people shaky.
Yep.
And as you indicated, promethazine considered an antihistamine, right?
Yes.
You looked at the promethazine aspect of this case and didn't see anything that was out of the normal in terms of the levels.
I mean, I would interpret that as someone that was just taking it probably continuously over a couple of days. But,
Sorry.
I just wanted to clarify, but I didn't have any information to know that for sure.
Let's touch on that real quick. In your role here and in working with the prosecutor's office and such, were you provided information about the case?
I was provided a small amount during like a pretrial hearing.
But not a medical history?
No, I never.
Of the deceased, right?
No.
So what your interpretations are in general?
Yeah, based on just 20 years of experience in reviewing many, many cases.
In all those many cases, in reviewing those, you look at this and it looks like a pretty regular promethazine user's result.
Yes.
Looks like an oxycodone user's drug result, I think you indicated, as far as you can tell.
Yes, I mean, that falls very much in the expected therapeutic range.
Now, with the potential, the metabolite, to understand how much, assuming the oxymorphone is a metabolite. Mm-hmm. Again, you can't be sure it's possible. That drug can be orally ingested as well, right?
Yes.
It's combinative in its effects with oxycodone.
Yes.
And but it can also be a metabolite, and you, with your experience, interpreted that's probably what's going on here.
Probably based on that ratio. If the oxymorphone was at, say, equal concentrations, then I would think either both drugs may have been taken, or there may be some sort of metabolic metabolism, polymorphism, or change in this person that maybe doesn't allow the breakdown of that drug as normal humans would.
All right, and also we have a half-life. So if this oral medication, the time that it's taken over the period between that and this blood result that gives you the toxicology analysis ability, this is metabolizing, right? And while it sounds to me like you're saying it really varies greatly with different people in different circumstances, et cetera, it's about a 5-hour half-life?
Yes.
So does this tell you anything, given, notwithstanding the generalizations and the basic estimations that are involved, about how much somebody would have taken, say, 6 hours before to have this result, what the result would have been closer in time to 6 hours before?
Well, I mean, theoretically, 6 hours, you could roughly double it. But again, that's a general.
Right. I was trying to understand because I don't. Otherwise, it's certainly not the way you do what a 5-hour half-life is, and whether I was correct in suggesting that she could have had a result double that, 6 hours, double that.
Yeah.
6 more hours before.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. I mean, it takes roughly 5 half-lives in general to eliminate a drug from a system. But, I'm not able to, because I'm not sure if you're asking this, so I just want to clarify, I'm not able to look at this drug concentration and make any sort of predictions on how much was taken or when it was taken.
Right, we might call that reverse extrapolation, right? But if you knew how much somebody took, strike that, I'm sorry, the half-life, as you indicated, would go from a large number to half of that in 5 hours, right?
Yes.
So, again, these estimations, but with this numbers, we've got a 68, according to that, we would have a 68 nanogram level, presumably, and 6 hours before this result.
Theoretically, yes.
And then, what about 6 hours before that?
I mean, yeah, you could just keep doing that
Keep
math.
doubling
But
it.
again, for that to be kind of meaningful, I would, you'd have to kind of know when the drug was being taken and things like that, right?
Right. I mean, you would, for instance, you could know if you knew a time that almost certainly a drug wasn't being administered by the person orally, right? If you knew the last time,
Yes, yes,
then you would have a better idea of extrapolating.
yes.
And then you indicated your sort of toxicologist opinions about how these would impact the person whose blood you're testing. And you did agree, didn't you, that this alprazolam level is at the low threshold according to the stock ranges of death, right?
Or at the high end of therapeutic. But yes, in certain drug combinations, it can be found in that.
And
index.
half full, half empty. But
Yeah.
your own stock description here is that it's therapeutic to a certain range, and frankly, then you indicate a range that could result in death, and that's just in relation to alprazolam, right? On your stocks.
Yes,
Yeah.
and usually those are not alprazolam alone, but alprazolam with other drugs.
Like opiates.
Yes.
And then that's because there's combinative effects of all of these things, especially when they're central nervous system depressants, right?
Yes.
But you, when you were asked about each of these drugs and in combination, questions on the subject, it sounds to me that ultimately you leave it up to a medical examiner to make final conclusions about cause of death.
I mean, it's just not part of my job.
And it is part of the medical examiners, that's your understanding?
Yes.
I think we're thinking.
Any follow-up?
Just very briefly. I just want to make clear that the names that we're talking about, for instance, promethazine and alprazolam, are there other names for these drugs that people may typically hear?
I mean, these are the scientific names. There would be trade names tied to all of these on, like what you would, if you received a prescription, there'd be a name tied to that, like Xanax,
Okay, so Xanax is what?
Zalprazolam.
Is there a different name for promethazine that you might see more commonly?
It may be in Zyrtec. It's just over-the-counter allergy medication. I honestly am not 100% sure which ones. These drugs can be found in different trade names.
Okay.
So,
Mr. Williams asked you a bit about half-lives and if you're able to double the amount. You said theoretically you could do that, but that's not something that you would rely on without knowing when a drug was taken. Is that fair?
yes.
And why is that not reliable?
Well, I mean, you just can't do it forever. I mean, you can theoretically say, for example, with oxycodone, that 5 hours before it may have doubled in concentration on average. But if you try and extend that too far back, then you start getting into unknowns that I just don't have information on.
If we just double the oxycodone level here one step, again, my math is bad, 68, I believe, is that still within therapeutic range for somebody that has been taking it and has some kind of tolerance?
Yes.
Nothing further, thank you.
Anything else?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. Can you step down? This witness be released?
No objection.
Yes.
Here you go. Stay ready with your next witness.
Yes, Your Honor, statement called Dr. Danieri.
Please come forward, sir. Come on up here near the clerk and we'll get you sworn in.
Please raise your right hand. You do solemnly swear the testimony you shall give in the case now before the court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes. Come on, you can have a seat. You can keep that mic in front of you at all times. we'll be able to make a good record, and we'll all be able to hear. Appreciate you being here, counsel.
Thank you, Judge. Good morning. Would you tell us your name, please?
Good morning. First name is Ben. Last name is Murie, spelled M-U-R-I-E.
And what is your occupation?
I am an assistant medical examiner at the Utah Office of the Medical Examiner.
How long have you been at that office?
It'll be about just shy of 3 years.
Were you engaged in that occupation before 3 years ago?
Yes.
Where was that?
In Las Vegas, Nevada.
And how long did you work in Las Vegas in that capacity?
About 2.5 years.
Were you similarly employed before that time?
No, before that, I was still finishing my training in forensic pathology.
All right, so I was going to ask you about that. What is your educational background that led you to that occupation?
Sure. So I completed 4 years of medical school in Pennsylvania, Erie, Pennsylvania. After that time, I did 4 more years of residency training in the field of clinical pathology and anatomic pathology in Hershey, Pennsylvania. And then after that, another year of specialized forensic pathology training in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
I am not entirely sure what pathology actually means. Would you please tell us that?
Yeah, generally speaking, it's the study of disease, and it could be. I think that's generally a pretty good way to say it. So, in a hospital setting, a pathologist may look at tissue under the microscope to diagnose, inflammatory conditions, or cancer, other disease processes. But for me, I deal with people who are dead.
Okay, that's a blunt way to put it, I guess. What is the difference between clinical and anatomic pathology?
Anatomic pathology I'll describe this in a hospital setting. That would be if the doctor who would look at a surgical specimen under the microscope. So if a surgeon cuts out an appendix or a gallbladder, the anatomic pathologist would review that and make a diagnosis. A clinical pathologist could also be a hospital doctor, but they would be doing some of the laboratory side of the hospital work. Perhaps like when if you get a blood draw and it goes down to the laboratory, there's a pathologist in charge down there, and that's a clinical pathologist.
All right, and so you completed 4 years, you said, residency in each of those specialties?
Yes.
Are you, and maybe this is a stupid question, you are a medical doctor, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then you mentioned that you did an additional year in forensic pathology. How does that differ?
Forensic pathology fellowship would be after completing the 4 years of residency, and there we would focus on the practice of an autopsy. And so not every day, but almost every day, we would have a deceased person and perform an examination on them, and that went on for a year.
And after those training circumstances, that's when you went to work in Las Vegas as a medical examiner?
Correct.
Are there board certifications required to be a forensic medical examiner?
I'm not sure if they're required, but I am board certified in anatomic pathology and clinical pathology and forensic pathology.
What do you have to do to be board certified?
You should complete the training years, and then there are examinations that you need to take to be board certified.
So you took 3 probably really fun tests to gain those 3 certifications?
Yeah, I wouldn't call them fun, but I did take 3 exams, yes.
And do you have ongoing continuing education type requirements to maintain that certification?
Yes.
What are those?
So I do need to have a certain amount of medical education credits, and so every year or about, I need to submit the medical education requirements I've completed. There are some continuing test questions that I answer throughout the year that helps maintain my certifications.
Okay. Is your work also reviewed occasionally?
You mean at the office?
Yes.
Yes, sometimes.
And you are current in your ongoing and continuing education?
Yes.
What, in general, is the purpose of a medical examiner?
In general, the purpose would be to determine a cause of death or a manner of death. Both a cause and a manner of death for anybody that comes in the office.
Okay, what's the difference between those 2 phrases that you just used?
Yeah, a cause of death would be the kind of the final or physiologic derangement is sort of the word, the process that the body is starting to die. So that would be the cause. So, for example, if somebody had a heart attack and dropped down and died, after an examination, likely the cause of death would be coronary artery disease or atherosclerosis or sclerotic cardiovascular disease, something like that. Then a manner of death, on the other hand, is more referring to the circumstances surrounding a person's death. So we have 5 options to choose from, and they are homicide, suicide, accident, natural, and undetermined. And so manner of death would be one of those 5 choices.
Okay, what is the purpose of determining the manner of death?
For my purposes, it's for documentation for the state and epidemiology. That's kind of my focus.
Is it meant to have any legal effect?
It could, but I don't know necessarily that it is meant that way. I'm not sure.
All right. Have you, in your past experience, dealt or worked specifically with insulin overdose cases?
Occasionally.
All right. Can you recall how many off the top of your head?
Not very many. They are, in my experience, there's been a few, probably less than 10.
And that's between both Nevada and Utah?
Yeah, that I can remember right now.
Okay. And what do you typically review in preparation for writing your report?
So it is case by case dependent, but generally speaking, when I'm generating my report, I'll review the autopsy or examination findings, and then review the pertinent background history, pertinent medical record. Sometimes law enforcement records are available too. So those are that's pretty typical.
What type of background history are you referring to and for after an autopsy?
Yeah, so we have a there's a group in my office called the medical legal investigators, or the death investigators, I guess. I don't remember the exact term at the moment, but their job is to go to the scene of a death and gather information and write that down into a narrative so I can read through it before beginning the autopsy, and I can refer to it later on as well.
Was that investigation team involved in this particular case?
Yes.
And why is a medical record important to you?
It tells some of the story of what happened prior to death if it's available. And there's other cases where a person may be dead in their house, and all that's, we don't really have a lot of what led up to the event, but we do have some record of a previous doctor visit or something.
All right. And in an insulin overdose case in particular, would the medical record be important to you?
Yes.
Why is that?
Well, that has a documentation of some of the lab values that may have come up since the initial admission until time of death.
Would you anticipate or expect a medical record to contain information that may not be available readily upon autopsy or toxicology?
Could you please repeat the question?
I'm not sure. Would you expect a medical record, a chart from a patient to perhaps contain information that wouldn't be readily apparent from an autopsy or toxicology result?
Yes.
Would that be the case in an insulin overdose?
It certainly could be.
And what process do you typically follow when you conduct an autopsy?
The autopsy usually begins as some of my support staff, my technicians, they'll have the body on a table for me, and then I'm able to do an external examination of the body where we document, it could be hair color, presence or absence of tattoos, presence or absence of injury, etc. Just head to toe examination externally of the body. After that point, then we begin with an internal examination of the body, and that's where we make the standard Y-shaped incision on the front of the torso and examine the organs inside.
And you do that both just visually and microscopically?
Not always microscopically, but yes, visually.
And would it be fair to say that there are autopsies where the cause of death is immediately apparent from just the viewing of the decedent?
Yes.
For example, a gunshot wound or stab wound or something like that?
Yes.
In this particular case, was the cause of death immediately apparent to you?
No.
And you did prepare a medical report, or I'm sorry, a medical examiner's report in this case?
Correct.
Can I show you Exhibit 29? It'll take just a minute to come up. Do you see that on your monitor?
Yes.
And what is that document?
This is a copy of my autopsy report.
All right. Does it look to accurately reflect what you prepared in this case?
So far.
Okay. If that changes, let me know.
Okay.
All right. Statements to admit, Exhibit 29.
I'm sorry, I missed it.
29.
No objection.
We're not going in order.
Court received states 29, which to publish.
Thank you, Judge. So the first two pages are, I don't mean to characterize it for you, but would that be accurate to say that those are your diagnoses and conclusions, and the remaining pages describe your support for those diagnoses and conclusions? Do we want to scroll through that quickly?
Am I able to? Oh, okay.
So those are the first two pages.
Okay.
Stop there for just a second. Do you recognize the signature on that page?
Yes.
And who is that?
That is mine.
And below that is a handwritten date.
Correct.
What does that date signify?
That's the date I completed my report.
Can we, sorry, Chelsea, go back up to the top. Is there indicated on this report the date of the actual autopsy?
Yes, at the top on the right-hand side, where it says date and time of exam.
And that is?
August 16th, 2024.
Okay, so it took you roughly, I guess, 5 months to complete the report?
Yeah, that sounds right if my math is correct.
Okay, and I'm sorry, Chelsea, go back up. The date of death is also noted?
Correct.
As 8/15/2024?
Yes.
Why is that important to you?
This is documentation. This could be, relevant if there's a large gap in between time of death and the time of autopsy. But I guess it does tell me that the death happened relatively soon before the exam started.
Okay, that was going to be my next question. All right, so I want to go down to page 3. And this it's labeled external examination. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
Just generally speaking, did you notice anything in that external examination that explained the cause of death to you?
No.
You mentioned, go down a little bit, Chelsea, please. Okay, so there in upper, sorry, keep going. All right, and now you noted evidence of injury and injuries of the upper extremities. You talk about some contusions. What is a contusion?
A contusion would just be a large word for bruise.
I'm sorry, say that again?
It means a bruise.
Okay. Were any of these contusions or bruises that you noted something that would be a cause of death?
No.
And you noted some on the upper extremities. There's one on the lower abdomen, on the right shoulder arm, right forearm, left shoulder, left arm, and the right antecubital fossa. Is that an accurate summary?
Yes.
As well as then down below that, also one on the right buttock?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. Do you have any information about what would have caused any of those bruises?
I don't know.
Okay, just something you noted because that was part of your examination?
Correct.
Would they be consistent with medical intervention?
Some of them could.
All right. Would they also possibly be consistent with injections?
Yeah, they could.
You just don't know what?
I don't know. I mean, I did mention in the where it says other, there was other left antecubital fossa that it could be medical intervention too.
All right, and so that's going to be the next explanation. What's a right antecubital fossa?
Oh, that's like if you put out your hand and you feel your elbow, it's just the opposite side from your elbow. So where a typical blood draw happens.
Okay. And then after making your observations on the external examination, you proceeded to an internal examination?
Correct.
And if we just scroll down a little bit, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on any of this, but would it be fair to say that your findings on internal examination were all unremarkable or normal for the most part?
If you want to scroll down to the cardiovascular, I think she had a large heart and some dilation of, there it is, right ventricular dilation, so that's not entirely normal. And then there was also a finding that she had one kidney, so that would really be normal. But I didn't note those.
Okay, let me talk about the heart for just a second. If you can go back up, thank you. Is an enlarged heart something that happens at death or pre-morbid, pre-death?
It would happen before death.
What is that symptomatic of?
I mean, there's a number of reasons to have a enlarged heart or a dilated heart. If somebody has some systemic issues, obesity can lead to it, hypertension, high blood pressure can lead to it, chronic alcohol use. In this case, it wasn't an enormous heart, but it was on the large side.
Was it a finding that you considered to be indicative of a cause of death?
In some people, it could be.
Was it in this case?
I didn't think so. It was in this case.
Okay. And you also noted, as you said, the single kidney. If we can go down a little bit, Chelsea. The urogenital system.
Yes.
You noted kidney on the right was absent.
Correct.
Did that appear to you to having been removed at some point or having been born that way?
My understanding is that's how she was born, but that's what I understand right now anyway.
Okay, could you tell that from autopsy, whether it was congenital or removed later on down the road?
I mean, if it was removed, there might be some surgical clips or a big scar. or something like that.
You didn't say anything about that?
Not that I recall, and not that I noted here.
Okay, and the remaining kidney, what was its status?
So if you look there, it says surface, second line down from urogenital system, it says granular, so that's indicative of some scarring that's happened in the kidney.
What does that mean to you?
There's a number of things that can cause scarring of the kidney, disease processes, but it's a kidney that has undergone some stress over time.
Would that have been sufficient in your determination to be a cause of death in this particular case?
No, not by itself.
Did you see in the course of your autopsy any indications that this lady had any form of cancer?
I did not.
If you could go down again, please. In microscopy, you see, thank you, down at the brain, and you listed indications in the brain that were consistent with ischemia. Do you see that?
Yes.
What is ischemia?
Ischemia would be low blood flow to the brain, so it would be poor oxygenation of the brain tissue.
And was this significant to your determination of cause of death?
Let me back up. I wouldn't necessarily say low blood flow to the brain, but I mean low oxygen to the brain. And in this case, it's evidence that she had some kind of period of low oxygenation.
Okay. What happens with low oxygen to the brain?
Well, just like every tissue in your body, every organ in your body needs oxygen to perform its functions. And so without that, you can have cell death, and when you have cell death, you have, altered or diminished